I'm Ohana. I want to talk to you for a minute about green waste composting. This is really easy to do in any kind of container. The very simplest thing is to buy one of those rubbish cans, put some pukas in the bottom, pukas in the side, stick it up on some bricks, and it can make a serviceable green waste pile. A lot of people are disappointed when they get their worms because they think the worms are going to eat their leaves and their grass and their prunings and all of that, and that's really not appropriate worm food. As we've discussed before, these worms are really manure worms. Think of pig poop, horse manure, that kind of stuff, yeah? So they're not all that interested in grass and leaves. It'll eventually break down and they'll consume it, but that's not their food. Your grass and your leaves and the other green waste, either from your garden or your yard, is best processed in just a simple green waste pile on the ground or a receptacle of some kind. Now again, just a rubbish can will do. Some people use these fancy rollers that you get in the store. We use these receptacles that were initially used for black soldier fly larvae cultivation. They've been repurposed now for green waste here at Oʻahu School. So we have a number of green waste receptacles because we have a lot of grass and leaves and prunings and all kinds of small stuff that we just dump in here all year round. All year round I fill them and I fill them again and I fill them again and I fill them again. And every week I saturate them with water. And when summer hits, when June and July hits, I tell the custodian, no more, don't give me any more green waste. I'm going to let these rest. And when school starts again in August, we'll harvest out the compost and you can use it for the landscaping and lawn. Now, not only is this used for all of the small green waste at Oʻahu School, but I also use it for all the junk food that I don't want to put in my worm bin. That includes a little bit of meat or dairy. You know, if you have that in your household, you don't want to put meat and dairy in your worm bin because it takes too long to break down and get stinky. But you can safely put it into a green waste bin as long as you sandwich it between plenty of green waste. So I have a bucket of junk this week that I want to get rid of in my green waste pile. And that includes stuff like I got so many orange peels and they're just ridiculous because I can't use them. Grape stems, these are not going to break down very well. They'll be in my worm bin when it's time to harvest, so I don't like to put them in. I get tons and tons of orange peels. Don't want to put those into my worm bin because they take too long to break down, they accumulate and they make this big goopy mess. But this is the kind of junk stuff that I want to get rid of, but I don't want to give to my worms, and it works great in the green compost. Now, it's summer now and these are resting, but I wanted to show you this. I want to show you how well the stuff is breaking down from the few weeks that we've given it to rest. So I'm going to dig through a little bit, make a little hole for these oranges and show you. So this is what it's turning into, folks. Oh, eggshells. Eggshells is another thing I don't put in worm bins, but I'll throw them in my green waste pile. And how about that? That's pretty nice compost, right? That's just leaves, grass, junk food, all kinds of stuff. Oh, speaking of junk food, the weirdest thing I put in these piles, I got 150 pounds of flour from one of the kitchens, the school kitchens. It had bugs in it. They didn't want to use it. So they said, here's 150 pounds of flour. I'm going, what am I going to do with this? I'm certainly not going to throw it away. Flour is really valuable nutrient. So I kind of split it up among our green waste bins and it got processed. It's being processed mainly by invertebrates, and you're going to see them in a minute. But boy, do they ever do a great job. I mean, I am talking about a 10-month supply of green waste put in here week by week by week. I just kept filling it up, filling it up, filling it up, and this is what I'm getting in the end. And in August, we'll harvest these things out. But I'm going to do one more round in this particular bin because I've got this bucket of stuff I don't want to put in my worm bin. So I made a little puka for him. Just going to dump this stuff in. Goodbye. Look at that. I get tons of this kind of stuff. I don't want to put it in worm bins. I'm going to take out the paper because it's plasticky. Spread that out a little bit. Throw the old stuff on top. I got some fresh green waste. I'm going to put that on top and then I'll cover it all. Got some grasses that they were pulling out and some stuff from the garden. Just some miscellaneous green stuff that was around. So you always cover, if you're going to put food in here, make sure you're always going to cover it up with some of your green waste. Just be sure you cover it. Same thing with the worm bin, the way you put the paper on to cover up the food. So even if I have meat, even if I put a few burgers and a bunch of pizza slices in there, if I cover it up, no worries. Oh, the other things I put in here, carcasses. We catch a rat in a rat trap, in it goes. You find a dead bird that hit a window, in it goes. Absolutely every organic thing that can decompose will decompose and turn into beautiful, beautiful compost if you put it in a green waste situation. So get yourself a little green waste receptacle as a companion to your worm bin, and you'll be able to use everything. The other thing I put in all these, I can't wait to harvest them because I'm going to be pulling out a lot of interesting things. I composted an entire wardrobe of old, rotten jeans that were stained and torn. So all my denim cotton jeans went in here, a whole bunch of cotton shirts, and a bunch of really ratty underwear that you wouldn't want to be caught in. All of my cotton clothing, every year, believe me, I wear it beyond Goodwill donations. It's really, pretty far gone. I'll compost it all. So I don't throw anything organic away. If it doesn't go into my worm bin, it goes into my green waste pile. And man, this stuff works really great every time. Once again, water it down. Water is the secret. So I'm going to hose this guy down. Watch out my bucket. I'm going to hose it down really good, get it nice and wet, cover it with a little bit of burlap, which I happen to have. That just helps keep the moisture in. And again, once a week I saturate these piles. So once a week I stand out here for a while with the hose and get everything nice and wet, because that's the secret. All of these critters that do this work better if it's moist. And everything will break down. Whether it's your old jeans, your cotton tennies, your dead birds, or your junk food like orange peels, eggshells, grape stems, they all will process very, very nicely in a green waste pile. I have a little burlap I use. You see it starts to fall apart too, but it's kind of useful for a while. And I'll just water that to keep it all moist on top. Cover it up, that's it. A week later, I'll moisten again. And believe me, by the time I get back to this pile, it will be gorgeous, gorgeous compost. Our custodian is very happy to have this stuff. I wouldn't want to use it in the garden because we don't have any documentation on it to prove its safety. I feel comfortable that it's perfectly safe to use in the garden, but there's some issues with the Department of Health. So he only uses this on landscape and lawn. But he gets a few cubic yards every year from us, and that's just because we do not put all of the grass clippings and leaves in plastic bags and put them in the dumpster. We do green waste piles. So I suggest you do the same. Don't put this out in your rubbish can to be transported somewhere. Just take care of it in your own backyard. It's easy to do, and these bugs are not going to come out and bother you. So they just stay and do their job. And that's it. So start a green waste pile. We'll be visiting them from time to time because I think they're extremely useful and they're very cool and very interesting.